I've been especially interested in the process of invention and production of technical artifacts, and particularly machines, of course. And I'm interested in the different things that participate in the process of formation of these objects, like the role of the body in this process, the role of the cultural context, and human and non-human aspects of it, and political implications of its production and use. And I like to think of machines as objects that can carry this information with them, so they can say things about the world that produced it. And that's why I think I like to relate this process to the process of object making in art, where I guess all these things are also at stake. My works can start in very different ways, but a lot of times it starts very intuitively, as persistent ideas that sometimes are still vague, but other times they are images of a whole finished work that I write down, and then I try to figure out how to materialize it, and that's when the work really starts. But this process can be triggered by anything, like a sound, an image, something I'm reading, or a mechanical process that I've seen. Anything that has impacted me. And it could also be a studio process, a desire to work with some specific material, or an idea that comes up while I'm working on something else. I think each project will require its own materials. I would even say that it demands its own materials, so I don't have any specific rule about that. But I tend to be more interested in industrial materials and processes. Like recently I've been working on a series of sculptures made with parts that I collect in junkyards, but also a series of works with heating devices. But also I did a machine that works with sugarcane molasses, so it really depends on the project. The machines were a technical solution for a problem. I was trying to figure out how to materialize those processual ideas that I was having, and the machines, moving mechanisms ended up being a better media to embody those forces and processes that I was thinking of. So machines are also kind of bodies themselves, and besides that, I think my works affects the body of the viewer very directly, and I'm also interested in that. One of the things that interests me about time-based works is the way that it affects us. I'm very interested in the way that time-based works can modulate our experience so that it changes along with the process of the work, as the work unfolds. So, in a way, our temporality becomes synchronized with the temporality of the work, and that's what really interests me about it. Sound is an intrinsic part of a lot of my works, especially when they are machines. The sound is the result of the functioning of a mechanism. So it is a very important part of it, and it is an intrinsic part of it. And I think sound can produce specific intensities in the work. That's what I really like about it. Depending on the type of sound and the rhythm and the duration, it can completely transform the work and create different kind of atmospheres. And also, I'm interested in what sound produces in an exhibition space, because I think since it affects our bodies so directly, it tends to put us in a different kind of relation with the work, I think, in a more engaged way. I think it affects the work to the extent that it affects me, because the place where I came from and where I live is the place that shaped me, and it's also the place where the work is produced. So I think, in a way, it also ends up embodied in the work. I was definitely motivated by the possibility to have this time focused, working in a more concentrated way, in a place with an infrastructure that allows me to experiment with different things and different materials. And of course, the opportunity to live in a place with such a different cultural context as Munich and as Germany, with its industrial background and such interesting art scene and experimental music scene. So I'm very excited to see all this. And of course, I'm also curious to see what happens to my work there and how it will behave in such a different context. The plan is to do a new series of sculptures with some materials that I've been incorporating to my work. But also I'm planning to see what possibilities the place will offer, to see what I will find there. So let's see.